Ah, there you are.
Habibi.
Hi, Dad. How's it going? How are you doing?
Busy, very busy times.
I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
My pleasure, Happy. Okay, I'll start with this one. How do places or people here reinforce your identity or, on the contrary, separate you from it?
Hmm. In New York?
Yes, here means, yeah, New York.
Here for me, yeah. It's been a journey to be able to even find a positive relationship with my identity over the years. It took a while for me to even begin to explore my Palestinian identity. I think I was very connected to my Lebanese identity because we grew up there until I was 9. And then growing up in Switzerland, I was quite detached from it. And I think I had internalized a lot of whiteness, and I really wanted to be white very badly. And then coming to college, I had met a few people, and then one teacher, Allison Lichter Jones, her classroom was the first time that I felt like I was in a comfortable space to talk about Palestine that was outside of the home, because of course at home that was not a problem, but it was really outside of it. And so since then, it's been a few years since then, but since being in her classroom and starting to explore my identity more publicly, I've been able to find people on the internet and also in real life who support and uplift and amplify my voice and my discovery through my identity. So I would say people like Celine Saman, who is my boss and my mentor and a friend, not only provides a platform for me to be able to do that, but also supports me in being very vocal about this unapologetically. And my close friends, seeing the way that they are so engaged when I talk about Palestine and the way that they want to learn more and they ask me questions about Palestine and any of the things that are happening in the news because they're aware that the mainstream media controls a narrative that is very harmful and violent for us. And also books and art.
Okay, it's just a follow-up question. I know that this is not the protocol. You're supposed to now be asking questions.
No, there's no protocol. This is a conversation.
Well, of course, I'm very proud of the fact that you want to be connected to your Palestinian identity slash roots. Your identity is shaped and formed not only by your Palestinian and ancestry. There is Lebanese in it. There is Christian, Muslim in it. There is the part that's Swiss, whether we acknowledge it or not. There is. You lived 8-9 years in Switzerland. There is the bit that is American. Personally, I think what makes your identity quite unique and special because it to me it embodies this multiculturalism, multi ethnicity, multi even religious views of the world, which is what the world probably these days need. What are your thoughts when you look at your identity with that lens?
I think it only has pushed me closer to want to explore and get more intimate with my Palestinian identity, because I think that when you look at Palestine, it really encapsulates so much of what is designed to be oppressive in the world. And also, it encapsulates so much of the perseverance and the energy of all liberation movements and all justice movements that have come and gone internationally through the world, from the Black Panthers to Palestine. And then also, when you look at the Philippines and all these other countries that have really suffered under either colonialism, settler colonialism, military occupation. And as I move through this world with this multicultural identity and these really, I guess, stereotypically opposing identities,
Mm.
I'm able to find the humanity throughout. And I really think that that's the line through with it all. I have I think, more of a collectivist view of how we function as a society and how we should function more as a society. We are a lot more similar than we like to think, but not that we like to think, but that we were made to think. We were made to think that we are all, different in conflicting ways, when really we're different in such complementary ways. And I think also when you live in New York, you're surrounded by people who are from all over the world. All of my friends come from everywhere. Okay, I think this one I really want to ask you. We talk about this all the time, but I think that it's important. How does poetry affect the way you see the world, and specifically, how has it shaped or evolved your relationship with Palestine and your identity, your Palestinian identity?
Uh, but poetry has a special place in my heart and my mind, and even in my being. We're very emotional people, you, me, even mom, and so on. The way we want to be able to effectively live through our emotions and express them beyond just the basic human expression of being happy, being sad, crying. Poetry helps humanity's way of being able to express deeper thoughts than what or just basic expressions that we feel. So if being smiling, crying, laughing is the fundamental of human expression, poetry is the higher level of human expression, at least to me. Since I was a child, I wanted to be a poet. I ended up being an engineer.
Why?
Because of economical necessity. Because of economical necessity. I grew up with a family that basically just wanted me to succeed so that I can financially support myself and support them, which I've managed. That kind of love of human expression through poetry, I've never lost. Specifically to Palestine, this is one of the ways for us to benefit from the wealth of Palestinian poetry that's out there, written by so many great poets about many different subjects: love of land, love of people, love for mom. Helps us all also get connected with our love, our pain, Palestine. So, my turn.
No. You got to follow up, so I get to follow up. You are a person who has the most determination and discipline that I've ever met. You wake up hours before work so you can work out, read 3 books simultaneously, do all these things. Would you ever consider making time for poetry in your schedule that is so organized? And why haven't you? Or have you and you just haven't told me?
No. I honestly have not. These things take time. In my current life kind of schedule, I barely have time to enjoy reading it, let alone create it and write it. Part of me feels that it's a luxury in terms of time that I probably cannot afford these days. But who knows? Maybe one day, when I'm retired or close to retirement, I'll have more time, and I'll dedicate more of my time to maybe expressing my thoughts and feelings and experiences through poetry. Maybe.
It's very healing. And I think that me starting my journey in exploring my Palestinian identity and getting more involved with that in recent years has allowed for not only myself to heal the pain or the trauma and that comes with carrying that identity, but also it has, I know, aided you in the way that you've told me. I think you deserve that luxury. You've worked so hard for so many years. You always have deserved that luxury, and you definitely deserve it now. So I think
Thank
you
you.
don't have to wait for retirement. You should start writing poetry.
We'll yeah, we'll definitely give it some thought.
We could write an anthology together. We could write a book of poems together.
We could. Here it says, what are the 2 lessons you have learned in your life that you want to share with me?
I'm going to tell you the lessons that I've learned from you, and then you
Yeah.
tell me the lessons that you've learned from me.
Okay.
Does that work?
Good challenge. Yes, let's do it.
Okay. I think that what I learned from you, and I'm going to try to say this without crying. It
Me too. Me too. Whenever I reach for my glasses, you know that what's happening here.
this might sound too broad, but it really is that, like, I can do anything I put my mind to. You have, for my whole life, encouraged me and supported me in everything that I've wanted to try and be, even if it meant that it wasn't what you wanted for me. I wanted to go to art school, and I think that was kind of rough at first for you and mom.
Yeah.
Um,
Not medical school.
right, right.
You remember that conversation?
Oh, I remember that conversation. And then it was like, wait, but not law school even?
Yeah.
We found a happy medium in me studying journalism and design, because that still opened the door for law school. Seeing the ways that you would even put your own wishes for me aside to allow me to explore things. And I know that this is also mom, like you and mom have just always supported me in everything that I've wanted to do and encouraged me to just try, because I lose nothing by trying. And I think that the reason I appreciate that so much is because I know that that's a luxury that you didn't have. And that you worked very hard to make sure that me and Firas, my brother, that we have the luxury and the opportunity to pursue anything that we want, and that you know that we're going to succeed because you've, and this is the second lesson, perseverance and discipline can help you achieve anything that you put your mind to.
Good lessons. Good lessons.
Oh, and then wait, I can't not say this one. The last one is um your favorite lesson, which is 1 to the power of 365 is 1, but 1.01 to the power of 365 is like 48 or some large number. But that every single day doing just a little bit of anything, but doing a little bit more than the day before goes a long, long, long way in over time. So I try to apply that. It's not as easy as it sounds, but that's something that is imprinted in my brain.
Love it. Love it. What have I learned from you? The courage part. You're fearless, which is amazing to me. And I know that Rita, your mom, and me, we've raised you to be courageous. You and Firas, we've raised you to be courageous. We've encouraged courage, even sometimes when it stood against our conventional wisdom and against common sense. But we were very proud of your courage. The lessons that you keep teaching us in being courageous is something that I admire, and of course I continue to learn from. What's life if it's not with courage? You know, is this a life worth living if you're not courageous enough to live it? The way you think and the way you see and the way you feel is aligned with higher values and principles. The second one is creativity. We have that creative gene that for me, I did not explore as much, although I tried to drive my people crazy with
Yes.
some creativity. But your creativity, your sense of art and your sense of freedom to express through drawings, through design, through words of multiple languages, I think that's also something that I love and I want to learn more, because maybe you'll be the one that will teach me how to write poetry eventually.
It's so funny that you say that, because I feel like the reason I am so creative and the reason I am so expressive is because anytime I would come to you with either a question or a problem, or when it was something that we were celebrating, really anytime I would come to you for anything, you always had such a poetic anecdote or a literal verse from a poem that you would recite for me, sometimes the whole poem that you would recite to me. Maybe you didn't realize, or maybe you did realize, but or providing me with a perspective that was creative and that used art or poetry in that way, I think is what made me love poetry so much, and what helps me have this creative perspective and lens with the way that I move through the world. So it's funny that you say that I'm going to be the one teaching you poetry, or that I teach you creativity, because I really think that it was highly nourished and nurtured by you and your own creativity.
Thank you.
You're like,
Okay.
thank you. When did you first feel whole? How did it happen, and why?
Sadly, I don't think I'm whole. We will all be whole once we are united in our homeland, because we've always had that heritage where we have been dispossessed as people. We're never whole, and that's why this thing will not end so easily, just by financially doing well, like we've got money, or intellectually well educated, or for us to have each other as a family. Yes, that completes certain parts of your life, but the fact that we are dispossessed, the fact that we still suffer through the oppression and colonialism that was exercised on our people, are we really whole? Can we really say that we are whole? Even as people, but as individuals, And who said that a whole person is the panacea? I don't know if wholeness is the utopia that people should be striving for. I know this probably is not the answer you're looking for, because you were looking for me reminiscing about a certain moment in your childhood or in our
No,
life.
not at all.
Those moments are you get close. You almost think that you are I'm almost whole now, but then you're reminded by something here or
Yeah.
something there, that there's something still missing.
So let me maybe rephrase or repose this question in a different way. When was the first time you felt almost whole, knowing that wholeness for you isn't until you're back in the homeland?
There are moments, of course, there are moments. Us playing Uno recently on the beach, my 50th birthday in Greece on that boat in Santorini.
Yeah, you always wanted to do that, and you got to do that.
Sometimes, you feel so blessed with family and all other aspects of life that you feel like, this is as good as it can be. So there are many moments you were born, the day you graduated, Firas's birth, Firas's ability to bike through Japan, despite the fact that as a father, I failed miserably at teaching him how to bike when he was a kid. So there are many different moments where you feel, wow, I'm blessed, and this is a life that I'm enjoy living. So 100%, probably never, but we got close in few moments in our lives, which I'm very grateful for.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It was an unexpected answer. Gives me something to think about. And then the next question is, do you think that I love myself fully? If not, what is something that you think is keeping me from doing so?
Do I think that you love yourself fully? I don't think so. I think you are still discovering who you are, which is, I mean, it's your age. You are still forming yourself, your identity, your Yasminness. There are days where you love what you've put together, and there are days that you don't. That's just part of the process. Yes, don't be too harsh on yourself. Love yourself some more, even on the days that you don't like the person you are, which happens to all of us. But it's okay. Give yourself a little bit of a slack, and love yourself despite those days or those moments where I can't believe how horrible I am, or I can't believe how imperfect I am, because we all have those days. You're 23, I'm 53, and I can tell you I struggle with the same at 53 as much as you are probably struggling.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very accurate answer also from my end. Okay, you asked me a question now.
Describe the sense of humor you brought at home with.
Um,
Okay. This is
I love this question.
yeah.
I think a sense of humor that I grew up with at home is that I can turn anything into a beat or a song, and it is 99% guaranteed it's gonna make all of us laugh and it's gonna annoy mom. But in the most like wholesome way, where I know that she also is entertained by it, but because of who she is, she's just gonna have a reaction to it. And I think that speaks also a lot to just like us culturally, that we can turn a sneeze, me falling. I definitely heard you make a beat out of one of us falling. So I think that that's a very specific type of humor,
Yeah.
but I love it. I love it so
Yeah.
much. It
Yeah.
brings me so much joy.
Yes. Yes. Most of the time I try to be the clown in the house, just because we don't take ourselves too seriously. And if there is no humor in life, yeah, it's kind of food missing salt. It has almost no flavor. What was the one thing you did not expect about me after getting to know me better?
I think that growing up, because of work, you had to travel a lot. So I didn't get to see you that much during the week. I just remember that we got along so well. And when I got older, I realized that it's because mom was there for more of the tougher parenting moments. It's because that you weren't necessarily there for the bigger part of those moments. When I got older and I got to know you more, I realized that actually you're very hard on yourself, because I think your parents and your family were hard on you. You do that because you know that it brought you to where you are and you're able to grow as a person. You're very hard on.
We share the same thing. You're just as hard on yourself as
Absolutely, absolutely. I started to realize that more as I got older. We had more intimate conversations, and we would really talk about our feelings, hard days. Just we would talk more as two people. You're still like, I would come to you as my dad. You never spoke to me like I was a child. You always spoke to me like I was another human, and I'm your daughter. But I think there was a level of um, respect there that I really appreciated, and felt like I could come to you with anything that I felt. So what I didn't know about you that I learned as I got older is that you are so hard on yourself. And the reason I'm so hard on myself, like you said, is because of exactly that. And mom has that too. It's blood memory also. I think that our ancestors and our families, like our direct families that are still alive, that has just been a survival character trait. Like we've all had to just persevere. There's no other option, because you
yeah.
don't have the choice to give up. You have to continue. And I think that sometimes to a fault, right? Like you have to know when to stop. You have to know when to rest. And those are luxuries, but also they shouldn't be. And that's also something that I think we learned very much at the same time that you can't be hard on yourself and on each other all the time, because that's only going to cause yourself and the people around you more pain and just more trauma. Part of healing and intergenerational healing, which is work that we have to do just because of who we are and where we come from, is learning that to give yourself a break, which is exactly what you said a few answers ago, is that you have to love yourself and meet yourself where you are at with everything that you are, even if you are disappointed in yourself or things didn't go as expected. And letting go, I think, is something that we struggle with a lot, just releasing.
So are you comfortable with how much you know me, or there are things in my life that you would like to know better?
I think I just would like to know more about your childhood and your upbringing. You've told me a lot of stories, and you and mom, because you went to college together, you've known each other for more of your lives than you haven't. And I'm just a very curious person. I want to know people and tell their stories. And you guys have had such incredible lives individually and together that just from my curiosity, I've asked you in more recent years about your early times in your relationship and your upbringings. And I think the more we talk, the more very organically tell me more about yourself. I love that I know you as much as I do, and that we have a very open relationship, in that, you know, if I have a hard day, I can call you.
Good, good. Well, you know why I asked that question? Because I lost my dad young, as you know, and I was in college. He was barely 62. I always had that sense that I'm gonna have my dad all the time. So one day I'm gonna, or on my next trip, I'm gonna just pick his brains and know him and understand all the history and ask him all the odd questions about this relative and that incident. And it did not happen. So I always feel, and I hope that you will get to know me much better than I got to know my own dad.
And I think that that's why I've also felt very comfortable asking you certain questions where they're like, oh, really? Or like, I know mom's like, wait, that's so intimate. Like, why? ليه بدك تسأليني؟ ليه بدك تعرفي؟ إنه شو خصك? Like, that's always the reaction, specifically to you guys and your relationship. But that's something that you're very open about. You always tell me and Firas that you didn't really know your dad as a person. You knew him as your dad. It kind of planted that seed and opened the door of like, you can ask me anything, and we can talk about anything, because we should know each other as people, and have that relationship be a lot more than just I'm your dad and I'm your parent, and that's the boundary. The more I know about you, the more I know about myself, right? Because I am a product of you and mom. So the more I know about both of you, the more I learn about myself and my history. Again, heal a lot of the unknowns or frustrations that actually have origins and roots in parents, grandparents, ancestry, all of that.
Yeah, it seems like we only have time for one last good question to end this. Your turn.
I have it. Why do you love me?
Ooh. You know that question, when I read it, I knew that you're going to ask that question. So I have been, sort of attempting to give answers to it in my head, but here it goes. There's a part that is innate, natural, the way the animals love their offspring. So you cannot help it. It's just innate. It's natural. It's one thing to plant a seed, but it's still amazes me how that seed just takes a shape of its own, and you've done that beautifully. I love you for who you are, for your character, for your personality, for your smile, and the fact that we could have a conversation like this and still connect emotionally, intellectually, is love, is pure love. This is now a little bit more special. I'd like to think that it is a little bit more special. But let me benefit also from the few minutes and turn it the other way around.
I think I love you for all of those reasons as well, beyond just the fact that you're my parent. I see the ways that you have been there for me and Firas and mom that is very rare and unique, to be able to have a dad who is present and who chooses to engage with you every single day, even when I'm not home, when I'm here. You text me every day that you love me. Um, and having and knowing, just without you even needing to text me some days, that you are there for me no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up not I don't recall, and maybe I did when I was a child, but I did not tell my dad I love him until I remember on a phone call when I was in college. I had to just break it out, blurt it out in the middle of a conversation. Dad, I love you. And I remember, there was silence on the other side of the phone, because this was the first time I expressed it. And we come from a family that you don't express that kind of emotions like that. I think he was shocked and most likely pleasantly surprised. But I love that about us. I love the fact that we could express, and we could love, and we could say how much we love each other. We could even say how much we don't love each other some days, but it's okay. It's okay. And the fact that our love to each other goes beyond the innate and the biological, and it's sort of the social norm, into something where we have, that connection, as I said before, on a emotional, intellectual, even spiritual level. I think that makes a much more loving, if that's possible, much more loving relationship between the two of us.
Well, I think really,
Love you, Habib.
I love you. I think that also the way to describe it is, I love you because I love you more every day, because we get to know each other. You choose to heal and to grow every single day, and you do that for yourself and for us. And I think that that's why.
I love it. Love it. Okay, Habib.
That's your next meeting.
We're out of time. Got to go to my next meeting.
Well, love you.
Love you too.
Thank you for doing this. Yeah,
My
love
pleasure.
you, Dad.
Bye. Bye.